What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Bright Falls one final time, for now, at least. As we are walking around Bright Falls here as Saga, I just wanted to make a video here just going over final thoughts, closing thoughts, I guess, if you will, like a closing statement on Alan Wake 2. It's been out now for over 3 months. We beat it about a month ago, and before you know it, I just got swept into the tidal wave, which was The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, No Return, and this was just bugging me that I did not make like I said, like a closing thought and scoring of Alan Wake 2, because the last video that I did for it coming home, I think that's Return 9, did end pretty abruptly, and I didn't really get a chance to just... Can this dog shut up? Does it not know that we're doing a review right now? Shut up. Pipe down. I don't even know where it's coming from. Excuse me. But again, it ended abruptly.
To find my way back.
God damn it. Does anybody know that we're trying to shoot a video here? Okay, we're going this way because it truly is a masterpiece and a beautiful, beautiful game. It's a top shelf game. It's one of the best games that I've played the past 2 gens, and it's just nice even just loading this back up and just walking around Bright Falls, just taking it all in. But if you look at the last Alan Wake video I did in the Alan Wake Remastered playlist, I talk about that game at the end and score it. I give it a 7.5. And the one thing that I knock it for, and the one thing that I say, if Alan Wake 2 can improve on this, it has the opportunity to be a 9.0 or a 10.0 masterpiece perfect game. And it's the gameplay, right? Super redundant, but again, this is a 2010 game that was remastered, so it's not really shocking that it wasn't, the most inspirational gameplay ever. I mean, it came out 14 years ago. Really, all it had to do was just make the gameplay mechanics to combat a little more unique. Not so redundant, not fighting wave after wave of Taken, because that's what a lot of Alan Wake 1 was, hey, run through the woods, make it to the lighthouse, or make it to the TV station, and fight 50 Taken in the meantime. And it just gets super redundant. It's just recycled enemy after recycled enemy. But again, that game's from 2010, despite it being remastered only a couple years ago. So I had all the faith in the world that Remedy would be able to improve upon that, because, like I said, if it does, that game has every opportunity, Alan Wake 2 that is, to being a 9.0, 10.0 game, without a doubt. And because it's got all the other good stuff about it, right? It's got a great narrative, it's got awesome lead characters, it has phenomenal side characters, like what you see in a Twin Peaks, or what you might see in like a True Detective, or whatever, whatever crime or serial killer or murder investigation show that just has a good wide cast of characters, especially when you're in just like a sleepy little town like this, right? A fishing town right on the water in the Pacific Northwest. Like, come on, you have to have like goofy, unique, creative, charismatic side characters, right? And whether they come in for 2 minutes a game and get one shot off, or maybe they're a 6 man of the year candidate that comes in and contributes 12, 13, 14, 15 minutes, and you can count on them to knock a couple buckets down. You need to have good side characters in games like this, and Alan Wake 1 had it right from the start. So I'm like, as long as they do that stuff with the narrative, the characters, right, the town's creepy and interesting, it tells a good story, and they improve on the gameplay mechanics, the sky's the limit for it, right? So I'm going to stop talking about Alan Wake 1 because I went on a little bit long about that. But the point that I'm trying to make is that Alan Wake 2 did that, okay? And first and foremost, they improved on the gameplay and the mechanics. You don't go through point A to point B and fight 50 Taken. And, again, it just feels like I'm fighting the same enemy over and over again. And, in one run, like you might take like 20, 30, 40 out. You can go through a woods and go from point A to point B and maybe fight only 3 Taken. They're more complex, they're more layered, multifaceted enemies. I don't want to say like a mini boss, but some of them are just like definitely like more like powerful enemies, like some of those big dudes, like the guy back in the motorcycle shop that came out that you had to light him with the flame, and then beat him up. That dude was definitely like a heavy, not a boss, but at the same time, more than just your common Taken, right? They had little moments like that where if you did just fight 2 at the same time or 3 at the same time and you came out victorious, it really felt meaningful, impactful, right? Because it's more complex combat this time around. And again, it just felt like you accomplished something. Like you didn't go on autopilot fighting the Taken in this game like you could in Alan Wake 1. Again, it felt unique, they felt different, and It felt like you had accomplished something whenever you got through a fighting sequence. It really, truly felt like that for me, at least. So they improved on the combat. The gameplay in general just offers a lot more than just running through a linear story. If you want to hit the pause button and venture off into one of like Saga's side objectives or side investigations that are kind of adjacent to the main quest line anyway, you could go and do that. Like if you wanted to go and investigate the lunch boxes, you could do that. The cult stashes, you could go right ahead and do that. Like the dolls and the nursery rhymes, again, you can go and pursue that, and you can make that like your main objective. And again, I think they run parallel or at least adjacent to the main quest line. They definitely overlap a little bit. But the point is that if you didn't just want to keep flying through the main quest line and you actually wanted to like look at this from the angle of like an FBI special agent, you could go ahead and do that, which again, I think it's pretty cool that you have the option to switch over to different investigations and really make your home in the mine place and basically set that whole case board up there and just actually like sit down and like try to like critically think about it. I know the mind place does a lot of the thinking for you, and it's kind of like more you like shifting photos and key images around and deducing or deducting certain outcomes, but it really makes you think though, or at least like theorize in your head, like who are the main characters and players that are involved in some of these nefarious quest lines, and how does it weave into the main quest line? Are these red hair?
Check something out. Be right back.
Got it.
Oh, okay. There's Casey down there by the lodge. But again, that's not in Alan Wake 1. Again, it's very much go to the, from one checkpoint to the next. Okay, you wrap that up. Okay, go to the next part. So again, they really offered something really cool there. The mine place is awesome. It's a super, super cool little schematic here that they implement in this game for you to go ahead and lay everything out, because it can be a multifaceted story. It can be complex. You do have a lot of different moving parts, and it just gives you an opportunity to like hit the pause button, go to a safe place. That's not always safe. You can actually be attacked when you're in your mine place. It happened to me on here, so be mindful of that. But it is a place where you can actually like hit the pause button for at least like trying to understand the story and go there and like figure something out and be like, oh, okay, like I can understand, like I see how these two characters are involved, or why Saga like deducted or deduced. Why am I having trouble saying that word? This problem here that she's facing before she goes ahead and solves it and closes that case, or et cetera, et cetera. So it was a cool little place. I mean, then they have the other stuff in there, like the TV station, the TV, the radio, all that good stuff. So the mine place, or whether it's the writer's room for Wake, I thought it was a lot of fun. In regards to the characters, they just made them even better, if that was even possible. Alan Wake 1 has so many cool side characters. They're funny, unique, goofy, that truly feel like they are just a part of this community, which is the Bright Falls area, or Watery, the Valhalla nursing home, you name it. Cauldron Lake, again, like they just, it was awesome in Alan Wake 1. And some of those people came back for 2, but they just made it even better, right? They introduced the Bookers right off the bat. And I wish we would have got more from the Bookers, but they introduced the Bookers. They go ahead and obviously we introduce a new Sheriff Breaker. Oh, yeah, see ya. Thanks. Why are you closed? It's broad daylight. They introduced the Koskela brothers. In Watery, we introduce Ati, who is both in Saga's world and over in Alan's world. We get Thornton and Mulligan reprising their roles, like they are very briefly in Alan Wake 1. I can't remember if you see them, but you definitely hear them bitching at each other on a radio, or they're getting yelled at, something like that. We have Pat Maine coming back. We got Rose coming back. We have, God, is there someone else inside that nursing home? I can't remember. Either way, the point that I'm trying to make is that they do such a good job implementing Alice, obviously, these little side characters that, again, might only get 1 or 2 minutes a game to get a shot off, or other ones might be like more pivotal, more critical in moving the story forward. So I thought, once again, they do such a good job developing these characters that run alongside Alan Wake and Saga. And of course I have to bring up Saga, because obviously she's not a side character. She's one of the 2 protagonists, but she is new to the story. And I think they did a really good job bringing her into this, making a co-lead alongside Wake. That's just incredibly likable, charismatic, badass, smart, intuitive. And as we find out later in the story, is actually a relative of some other side characters that I just forgot to bring up, which would be the Anderson Bros. Tor and Odin. So they did a great job bringing Saga along in the story. She fit right in completely. And Casey too. Obviously, I forgot Casey. Again, it's been like a month. So all these like names are like slipping out of my head, even though I got Casey talking in my ear right now, wanting us to meet up at the car. But they did a great job with Saga. Again, just incredibly likable from the first breath, the first comment she makes, just the way she handles shit. She gets shit done. She's smart. She doesn't lose her shit. She's also aggressive whenever she needs to be. And I think she was a very welcome addition to the Alan Wake world and universe, the Remedy universe, whatever they call it, all the games they got Control and Quantum Break and all of that good stuff. So she was absolutely fantastic. Wake was really good too in this game. I kind of liked Wake more in Alan Wake 1. He's just so out in a different universe throughout this whole entire game. Which I get it. That's kind of like the whole plot is, where he's at in the dark place and where is he at actually whenever he's in Bright Falls and how is Scratch involved in that. And I think when it comes down to it, I think I just like Saga's playthrough better, but I'll save all of that talk there maybe for more at the end when I give just like a couple like critiques. So again, the other strong point in this game is the side characters and of course the addition of Saga Anderson, who's one of the two protagonists alongside Wake. All right, now I'm just going to talk a little about some of the critiques, and there's not many. There really isn't. And overall, this is stuff that isn't like a deterrent or anything like that. But if I'm going to talk about a couple things that I didn't particularly care for, that just maybe weren't my favorite, and I guess the first one I just like slightly touched on it. Wake's plot wasn't my favorite. I mean, if you're going to ask me, like, did you like Saga's playthrough more than Wake's? Who are you picking? For me, the easy answer is Saga Anderson. I do think that Saga's returns were way more interesting and fun and easier on the eyeballs aesthetically than Wake's initiations were. And mainly that's just because Saga is very much in the real world here. She's in Bright Falls, or she's at the shores of Cauldron Lake, or in the woods of Cauldron Lake, or she's in Watery, or she's making her way over to Coffee World, or she's at the Valhalla nursing home. And she's making her way through the overlaps. The overlaps were so awesome. That's where we fought the boss fights at. Nightingale, Thornton, and Mulligan. Cynthia Weaver, again, another side character from Alan Wake 1. Cynthia Weaver, and then, of course, the big boss fight at the end against Scratch. Again, it's just, hers were funner. Like, I felt like we were actually investigating something in Saga's playthrough here. We're at the mine place. We're solving these, like, different little side investigations while at the same time, oh, hey, there she is. Speak of the devil, Rose. Watch what you say in front of that girl. She'll go to Pat Maine immediately, and then all of Bright Falls will know your secrets. But I don't know. I mean, look at this right here. This is gorgeous to look at. It's beautiful. But at the same time, there's a lot of like supernatural shit and like devilry at play here too. And I think that's just what I really loved getting into more than constantly being stuck in the dark in Wake's initiations in the dark place and just running around like that vacant New York City, dodging around the Taken or fighting the Taken. And I don't know. I mean, put it this way, you can kind of run through this however you want. They give you that freedom, and that's really cool that they did that. If you do like 2 or 3 initiations all at once at the same time, particularly, I'm trying to think what the long ones were again off the top of my head. I want to say it was 5 and 8. Those are long. Those ones where you got to go to the murder scenes and you got to recreate the plot and visit all these different places so Wake can go and rewrite that whole scene as he's trying to create his escape out of the dark place. They're just long. I don't know what it is, because you're just constantly in a dark place. You're not really interacting with that many people other than the constantly upbeat, whistling Sergeant Breaker. It's just more of a preference for me. Other people might say that Wake was, who they would rather play over Saga, and that's completely fine. I just enjoyed the investigation on this side of the dark place. Visiting Watery, talking to people, interviewing people, keeping in contact with Casey, or eventually down the stretch Estevez, or even whenever they did get Fish Wake out of the pond. Fighting through the overlaps did give you that little moment of like being in like that upside down dark place environment fighting a boss. But then whenever you won, you came back to this, right? all of a sudden the flooded waters have receded. Things look like they're a little bit back to normal, and it's almost like you feel like you're starting to put some kinks in the armor a little bit. And then you go to the Valhalla nursing home, and you have again, it's just you're constantly interacting with all these charismatic, goofy, unique characters on this side of the coin with Saga. And when you're as Wake, it's just you're going through those echoes, and you're seeing Casey's investigation, how that runs parallel with the whole Scratch thing. As Wake's just trying to get out of there. It's just, for me, it's just long. Wake's initiations in the Dark Place are just long. They are not motivating or inspirational to me. Again, I just, like, when I'm playing a Saga, like, you feel like you're playing like a True Detective or Seven or Silence of the Lambs or like Fargo or whatever, Twin Peaks, all those brilliant, beautiful murder movies or TV shows that are in the pantheon, the greatest of the greats, serial killer movies, shows, TV shows, whatever, you name it. Like, you feel those inspirations for me, and you feel all of those inspirations when you're playing a Saga, not as Wake. And there was a cool IGN article before Wake 2 came out, and that's where I heard all that from. I can't remember if it was Sam Lake or if it was someone at Remedy, but they said, what's your inspirations, like pop culture inspirations for Alan Wake 2? And he said all of those titles that I just said: Silence of the Lambs, True Detective Season 1, Seven, Fargo, Twin Peaks, you name it. All of those. And you feel that. Like, you see so many different moments like that as Saga. And again, with Wake, it's just like one, like, enigmatic mystery, after the next. It's just like you're constantly trying to just figure out, and you're just trying to get your head above the water, where as Saga, you really are trying to, like, solve investigations. So that's, I just didn't really love Wake's playthrough, I guess, or his plot. Again, it's enjoyable at times, but just consistently, I don't love it. So that's just my one little critique there. And again, that's fine. There's probably people that love it. The other one for me would be the inventory management, which I do not love in any game, and I'm sure that's probably the case for most people. Inventory management sucks. It's not fun. All right, you're over encumbered. You got to throw shit out of your bag, your satchel, your cloak, your wagon, you name it, just to make room so you can continue on and maybe grab something that's a little bit more interesting to you down the road. It wasn't good in this game, and I really felt that it started to become a struggle whenever we added the hunting rifle back in the wellness center for the Valhalla nursing home. Once Saga added the hunting rifle, after I had to throw a bunch of shit away, it was from there all the way to the end. It was a constant struggle making sure that we had slots open in our inventory if we came across stuff that was more impactful for our playthrough. And then we're constantly running the shoe boxes, unloading stuff just to create room. Now, there is this bug, and they, of course, corrected this bug like the day after I embarked on the point of no return, where you basically just run through like the last couple quests. And there's a place, and it's just down below us here. Whenever you get the bolt cutters, you can unlock this gate at the pier, and there's a cult stash there. And whenever you solve the puzzle, you open it up, and there should be a inventory upgrade for Saga that unlocks what would have been for me my 5th out of 6 row. I had 4 for the longest fucking time. It was very fucking annoying. As I said, the guns take up a lot of slots, especially that hunting rifle, and I didn't even have the crossbow in there, and I was constantly struggling, throwing shit away, or if I was by a shoebox, unloading it into the shoebox. And there's a bug whenever you add this, when you unlock that cult stash, it should have unlocked your 5th row. It did not do it. That was the bug. So I went into the final quest, the final mission against Scratch, with only 4 rows unlocked. And the struggle that I was running into is that I ran out of all of my ammunition, and the only shit that Casey's throwing down from the cliff were crossbow bolts. Well, guess what? My crossbow is in the shoebox. So I have this raging lunatic, madman, on my ass trying to butcher me. And I'm trying to go to the shoebox for a quick little timeout. Well, guess what? Scratch doesn't honor timeouts, okay? He doesn't know those rules. So every single time I was going to the shoebox, I had to, like, at one point sacrifice him being lit up by Estevez and Casey, and I, instead of like shining the light on him, I had to run to the shoebox and sub out my like whatever gun I didn't have ammo for the crossbow, and I like fumbled it the first time, so I had to go back and do it a second time. I eventually beat Scratch, but there was a point in time where I thought, especially after they made that patch that corrected Saga's little inventory upgrade problem, I'm like, I'm going to have to go back to that save that I made there back at the police station. And I'm going to have to go down to that pier, and I'm going to have to redo probably a good hour and a half work just to get back to Scratch, so I have that 5th slot, so I'm not like running around like an idiot with no ammunition. Eventually I got lucky and I threw down like 24 shotgun shells, and then we kicked Scratch's ass. So we avoided it, but at the same time, like I said, from the moment at the nursing home where you pick up the hunting rifle, from there all the way to the end, the inventory thing was a fucking disaster for me, and it was really annoying. So those are my like 2 little gripes. And in a Wake thing shouldn't be a gripe. That's just his plot line. That's just his story. That's just where they had him at in this game. And I completely understand. Oh, I kind of need you to be quiet. I'm talking here. This is a review. I'll leave.
Do you fellas ever miss them?
God damn. Got some crazy people here. But again, that's why I love this game so much. Like, the town's nuts, right? And it's got a personality of its own. But again, the Wake thing, I can't complain about and say that that's like an annoying issue. That's just where they had Wake at, you know? Like, he's in a dark place throughout the most of this game. That's the point of the plot. And again, that's why I'm not going to like ding it really for that. I just didn't really like it that much. Especially when you compare it to Saga. Saga's I thought was phenomenal from the begin all the way to the end. Her returns were phenomenal. And yeah, like I said, the big thing that I will complain about though is the inventory management. That's what I did not like at all. Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to give it a score, we're going to slap a big old fat 9.0 on this bad boy. We're going to slap a 9 out of 10 on this, which again is still a phenomenal score. This is a great game. Like I said, those 2 things that I complained about at the end, in the grand scheme of things, really don't matter, and it should not take away from this game and everything that's achieved and all the accolades that it's received, and all of the praise, you know, the sprinkles, the ticker tape parade, you name it. They got all of it, and they deserved all of it. This is truly a phenomenal game that Remedy's made, and I mean, what else can you say? Hats off to them, standing ovation. They made a beautiful game in a beautiful world here. Again, Bright Falls, watery, it feels like its own character, and they did. That's so special that they've created something like that, and all the beautiful side characters too. I do wish, special shout out, I do wish that we got Barry Wheeler in this game. We got a couple emails from him that he exchanged with Alice, and a couple letters I think we picked up at the nursing home. That's the one person that I truly, truly miss is Barry Wheeler. I really wish he was here. He was so funny. Awesome comedic relief in the first game. AW sidekick throughout. And I also miss Sarah Breaker, too, who was the Bright Falls sergeant, or Bright Falls sheriff, in Alan Wake 1, especially when you get towards the end of the game. Wake, Barry, and Sergeant Breaker are this awesome trio, this awesome team that are just on this path to destroy the darkness and preserve the light in Bright Falls. And I really missed that camaraderie in this game that they shared, because they were special. Yeah, Wake, Barry, and Sergeant Breaker. Not the Sergeant Breaker we know in this game, but apparently his cousin, I believe he said. Definitely a relative. However, I missed that. They were great together. But we got memories still. At least we have the memories from those 3 and their time in Bright Falls, and then making their way over to the power plant with Cynthia Weaver. That was good shit. But yeah, again, phenomenal game. Just a couple small critiques. But this is a solid 9.0, amazing, fantastic game that I'm playing actually again right now on Final Draft. Apparently there is a special ending when you do it on Final Draft, so I'm curious to see what happens there. If there's anything groundbreaking, or maybe when I go into that final chapter, maybe I will record that video just to put it back into this playlist here. Because from what I've read while trying to avoid spoilers, apparently that's where you notice the biggest difference in Final Draft is the ending. So I might, when I go into that, maybe I'll just record that and just to get like a live reaction. But until that time comes, that's going to be it for Alan Wake 2. But maybe the DLC will actually beat me to that, because I don't know. Right now I'm immersed in No Return and The Last of Us a lot, so I don't know how quickly I'll be able to beat Final Draft. I'm only in Return 2, which is right after the part that we're in right now with Saga and Casey when I go back to Cauldron Lake. It's a decently long game. I imagine I'll run through it a lot quicker now the second time around with the new game plus, all the upgrades and all that stuff, and just knowing where to go, how to solve the puzzles. I'm sure I'll get through it quicker. But when I get to that point, I will record the ending to Final Draft. And the other thing that we do have to look out for too is the 2 DLCs that are slated to come out in 2024, which would be this year, for Alan Wake 2. We have Night Springs and we have Lake House. We know a little bit about those. I know Lake House is obviously that FBC control station where apparently things went a little bit sideways. So I imagine we'll go there, investigate that, and see what happened. And as for Night Springs, I know that that's like a Twilight Zone kind of inspired, like fictional TV show here that's set in the Bright Falls world that people reference throughout. Like, oh, did you watch the last episode of Night Springs, etc. So that's what the other DLC is going to be. And again, Remedy has said that both are supposed to come out in 2024. I will, without question, record those and upload those to the channel. So Alan Wake 2, the playlist for Alan Wake 2 is not done and dusted. We still have some additions going to that here down the road. But as for now, that's going to be it for Alan Wake. We will be back to pick up our flashlights and a cup of coffee at the Oh Dear Diner. Rose, please keep it hot. But for right now, that's it. I appreciate you guys watching that enjoyed these Alan Wake videos. Check out the playlist. It's updated. All the videos are there. If you enjoyed them, please like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And we'll catch you guys with the DLC or the end of Final Draft. Whatever comes first, it'll probably be the DLC. But we will see you guys again in Bright Falls. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.